Hello. I just wanted to make a voiceover video explaining strategies as soon as I can get. Alright, so I just want to make a voice over the video that I put, and I'm going to take the old one down. This was an exit ticket that I made, and I just wanted to make this. So you just have to look for patterns. Sometimes they will show you a shape, and you would have to count the number of sides. For in this case, it was increasing by one because it had a triangle which has 3, 4, 5, and then the next one is 6. Now for question 2, it said what is the rule for this pattern? And they gave you a specific pattern. They had 5, then 10, then 9, and then 18, then 17, and 34. So I was able to cross out A because I knew, 5 times 2 is 10, but at the same time, 10 times 2 is not 9. So it's actually subtracting by 1 after you multiply by 2. So in this case, for question 3, it said which pattern is created using the rule start with 3, then multiply by 3. So what I like to do is just go ahead and write the pattern itself, and then I can do eliminations. Like 3 times 3 is 9, and then 9 times 3 is 27. So therefore, you'd be able to cross out the other stuff. And for question 4, it said to start with 5 and multiply by 2. Again, it's always easier to write that pattern. So I started with 5, and then I just multiplied by 2. And if you just pay attention, you could follow the rule and use your chart. Now I wanted to talk about how your scholar might be tested. And this says the rule subtract 3 and add 4. So I like to look at the answer choices. And as I can see here, I'm looking at A, B, C, and D. And starting off, it looks pretty good because they all did subtract 3. But then you have to add 4. Now 12 plus 4 is 16. But if we look here at C and D, they said 15 plus 4 is 23. And that's wrong because 15 plus 4 is 19. So we knew the 23 is the one that ruined it. So C and D were able to cross out easily. And now we're left with A and B. So again, after you subtract 3, you add 4. Then after add 4, you go back and subtract 3. Well, 16 minus 3 is 13, not 19. So therefore, B is wrong, A is right. The next question that I want to talk about is one that deals with inputs and outputs. So let's say for this input-output table, you have to multiply. It's going to tell you, it says she multiplied by 12. So that's my rule. And then the equation was y equals x times 12. So whatever you had in your x, you were to multiply that, and that would give you your y. So I know 2 times 12 is 24. So I already know A is wrong because it said 2 times 12 is 12. And then those two are, B is adding 12. We're supposed to multiply. And so if I look here, see, 3 times 12 is correct because it is 32. And 6 times 12 is 72. 9 times 12 is 108. So C was my answer. And D was actually dividing by 12. And for the rule, we're not supposed to divide by 12. We're supposed to multiply. So, again, I don't think the standard is too hard. But, so let me talk about this real quick. For question 3, and I don't have too many questions. This video will not be long. I'm just explaining this. Which number completes this table for the equation y equals x plus 7? Now, your scholar will see this when they get in higher grade levels, like with algebra and stuff like that. But in this case, whatever's in the x column, you would just add 7, and that would equal y. For example, 2 plus 7 is 9. And then 3 plus 7 is 10. Now for the third part, they don't know. They left that number missing. But whatever it is, if you add 7 to it, it will equal 12. And then 8 plus 7 is also 15. So I can see the pattern here, following the rule. Now what you can do, you could write the formula, because y in this case is equal to 12, because 12 is in the y column. So we're going to fill in that formula. And so x is blank, but whatever it is, I can actually subtract 7 and then I can test it out. And 5 plus 7 actually is 12. So for question 4, it said, which pattern is an example of the rule multiply by 5, subtract 3? So this one was pretty obvious, I believe, but as long as you use your multiplication chart or know it by heart, the first thing we have to do is simply multiply by 5. And I'm going to do a process of elimination here based off what didn't follow the rule. So I can do some eliminations. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that. I know 5 times 2 is 10. So again, those A and B are both wrong. And then 6 times 2 is 12, which is also wrong. But 6 times 5 is 30. And then, 30 minus 3 is 27. So that also continue. And then you have to multiply by 5. And it actually is the truth. So we're going to move on. Question 5 says, Toph made a rule, start with 4, then multiply by 4. So I'd like to go ahead and write it 4, and then 4 times 4 is actually 16. And then 16 times 4, you would have to multiply that to the side. But I already know what I can eliminate because I already see something that I need. And if you were to just multiply 16 times 4, you would know you would have to have a 4 in one's place, and so yeah. And for this question, it's not the last one, but it says Qatar has 360 stickers and she will use them. That means take them up every week. And how many does she has left? Those are keywords for subtraction, and I'm going to be subtracting 10. So I'm going to start off with 360, and then you just subtract 10. So in this case, it's going to get continuously smaller, and both C and D got bigger. They added 10, so we can't have that. Now, if we look at A and B, they both started out pretty good, but then there was a hiccup because it jumped from 350 to 330. That's subtracting 20, and that's wrong because we have to subtract 10. So the only thing is B. Now the last question, there's no specific pattern, but you can recognize a rule to predict the pattern. So here I see that they want to know what is the rule, what is one way. I see they had 8 in the first group. 1 in the first group, 8 in the second, 15 in the third. We don't know how many was in the fourth. And then we have 29. Now, out of the answer choices, A says to add group. Now, let me start with D, because D says to triple. That means multiply whatever number by 3. And, actually 1 times 3 is not 8. And 8 times 3 is not 15. So we can't say D. If we look at this, they're saying to add group 4 and 2. No. I see that 1 plus 7 is 8, and 8 plus 7 is 15. So that means I know whatever it is, I would have to add 7 to 15, and I can get my answer, which would actually be 22. And then 22 plus 7 is 29. So, again, we already know we are adding 7, and I believe that is it. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps.